Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another great episode of Know Your Legends Unsolved Murders. I know last week was long with the Zodiac Killer, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to record it. This week we're back with another unknown killer. As we go through this series, we're going to be talking about serial killers who are uncaught, who have not been captured in different parts of the world, and generally we're going chronologically. So that it started off as Jack the Ripper, and I've been going down the list, from then. So now we're in the late 1960s at this point, and we're talking about a serial killer out of Glasgow, Scotland, known only as Bible John. 3 murders were attributed to him, but it's not clear if they were the work of the same person. So this guy's a little bit, this is more of an unclear case of who the killer is, although it's very interesting nonetheless. So here we go. On February 23rd, 1968, the body of 25-year-old Patricia Docker was found in Carmichael Place in Glasgow. She had been strangled. The previous night, she had told her parents that she was going out dancing at a nearby club, the Majestic Ballroom on Hope Street. Patricia did, in fact, go to the Barrowland Ballroom for the Over 25 night. It was not until about 8 weeks after Docker's killing that the police found out that she'd actually gone to the Barrowlands. By that time, memories had faded. On August 15th, 1969, mother of 3, Jemima MacDonald, 32 years old, also went out for a night at the Barrowland Ballroom. The next day, Jemima's sister Margaret heard rumors in the area that young children playing in an old tenement building in McKeth Street had seen the body of a woman, but claims were dismissed by most people. By Monday morning, Margaret was so concerned that she herself went to the old building and where she found Jemima's battered body. She had been strangled, raped, and beaten to death. Witnesses say that they had seen her leaving the club at midnight with a tall, slim young man with red hair. On October 31st, 1969, 29-year-old Helen Puddock was found murdered in Earl Street in Scotstown. She had also been seen at the Barrowland Ballroom on the night she went missing. She had gone there with her sister Jean and had met 2 men called John. One said he was from Castlemilk, the other did not disclose where he was from. After being in their company for well over an hour, they left to head home. Castlemilk John headed to George Square to get a bus, while Helen, Jean, and Bible John got into a taxi. They crossed the city, and Jean got out. The taxi then continued to Earl Street, where Helen lived. The next morning, Helen's battered body was found in the back garden of her flat in Earl Street. She had been raped and strangled. The contents of her handbag had been scattered nearby, but the actual bag was missing. It had been suggested that the killer took the bag as a trophy. Grass stains on Helen's feet indicated there had been a struggle in which Helen probably tried to escape, but her killer had overpowered her. She had a deep bite mark on her leg. Suspect. The suspect was described by Helen's sister Jean as being a well-dressed young man, tall, slim, with reddish/fair hair, and described as being polite, well-dressed, and well-spoken. She said the stranger had given his name as John Templeton, or Sempleson, and that he frequently quoted from the Bible. He was reported to have said, "I don't drink at Hagamne, I pray," and to have referred to Moses as his father's belief that dance halls were dens of iniquity. Although Helen's sister Jean said that Bible John was slim, tall, with reddish or fair hair, the bouncers at Barrowland's Ballroom dismissed her description and said that the man Helen left with was short, well-spoken, and had jet black hair. This was more believable as Jean was highly drunk the night of the murder, and it had already been proved that the killer didn't quote directly from the Bible, but referred to it. He was heard commenting by one of the witnesses that the Barrowland was a den of iniquity. The last possible sighting of Bible John was a well-dressed young man in a disheveled state with possible scratch marks on his face, getting off a bus at Grey Street around 1:30 a.m. He was last seen heading towards the public ferry to cross the River Clyde to the south of the city. Investigation. The police made a determined effort to hunt for the killer, now nicknamed Bible John, but although a number of suspects were questioned, no arrests were ever made, and no further victims have been attributed to him. All 3 victims had been strangled with their stockings, all were menstruating at the time, and all 3 had sanitary napkins or tampons placed on or near the bodies. Their handbags were also missing. In 1996, police exhumed the dead body of John Irvine McInnes, the cousin of one of the original suspects, from a Lanarkshire graveyard. McInnes, who had served in the Scouts Guard, had committed suicide aged 41 in 1981. Police ran a DNA test and compared it with semen found on Helen Puddock's tights and announced it to be non-conclusive. Lord Mackay, then the Lord Advocate, said there was not enough evidence to link the murders to McInnes. On December 12, 2004, police announced they were to DNA test a number of men in a further attempt to solve the case. This followed the discovery of an 80% match to a DNA sample taken at the site of a minor crime 2 years earlier. Developments. The May 4, 2007 conviction of Peter Tobin for the murder of student Angelica Cluck led to the speculation that he is Bible John. According to a report in the Times, there are striking parallels between Bible John and Peter Tobin. All three of Tobin's former wives gave accounts of being imprisoned, throttled, raped, and beaten by him. There are strong similarities between photographs of Tobin when aged in his 20s and the photo fit of artist's impression of Bible John. And Tobin had moved from Glasgow in 1969 after marrying his first wife, whom he met at the Barrowland Ballroom the same year as the killings officially ended. It is alleged that Tobin is driven to violence by the menstrual cycle, something of which has long been suspected of the motive behind the Bible John murders. Additionally, Tobin was Roman Catholic with strong religious views. As a result of Operation Anagram, set up to locate any other potential victims of Tobin, a woman said that she had been raped by Tobin after she had met him at the Barrowland Ballroom in Glasgow in 1968, roughly around the same time as the Bible John killings. In September 2010, the only woman ever to have come face-to-face with Bible John was Jean McLaughlin, died at age 74, making the end of the hunt for the killer. McLaughlin, who shared a taxi with the mystery killer, and her sister Helen Puddock, gave police the description used in the artist's impression, which remains the biggest clue to his appearance more than 40 years later. Although DNA has been used to rule out a previous suspect, detectives believe that a DNA link to Tobin is unlikely due to a deterioration of the samples through poor storage. It is not universally accepted that the three killings were the work of the same person. It has been claimed that the gap of 18 months between the first two killings is unusual with serial killers. The later two may have been copycat killings, and the police may have even hampered their own investigation by prematurely jumping to the conclusion that they were the work of the same person. Professor David Wilson, an expert in criminal behavior, has stated that the 18-month gap is not unusual following a serial killer's first murder. Wilson investigated the case for 3 years and believes the available evidence supports that Peter Tobin is Bible John. And even if Peter Tobin is Bible John, we'll never know at this point in time. But I'm kind of curious your thoughts. Like, was Tobin just a copycat killer, or did he actually, was he Bible John? Tough call. If you guys are from the area of Glasgow, let us know. Let me know. Find me on Twitter at kzomradio. Go to kzomradio.com, facebook.com/kzomradio, youtube.com/kzomradio. We are all over. Love to know your thoughts. We'll see you guys next week for another episode of Kzom Radio's Know Your Legends, Unsolved Murders. My name is Matt Jarbo. Have a great day. Today's episode is brought to you by the new novel, To a Darker Brightness by Glenn Lackick, a vampire novel that will take you on the trip of your life. You can find this book at smashwords.com/books/view/25278. And you can find the link for this in the show notes. As well as Rock Hypnosis. Jason Kropidlowski is a certified counseling hypnotist, certified sports hypnotist, and a proud member of the National Guild of Hypnotists. He's here to share the beneficial, life-changing hypnosis experience with clients from all walks of life. His mission is to provide the highest quality professional hypnotist consultation to each and every client. You can find more information at rockhypnosis.com. That is ROC hypnosis.com. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Kzom Radio's Know Your Legends, Unsolved Murders. If you'd like to advertise on this podcast, please visit kzomradio.com for details.